Salesforce has the native ability to mass delete records of a certain object or mass transfer ownership of certain objects. So we're going to go into the mass delete first. And this is where we have here the mass delete records. Now this is limited to several objects here that you see this list here. Again, accounts, leads, activities, contacts, cases, solutions, products, and reports. And reports, you can only delete reports that are a part of public folders and they are not being used on dashboards or referenced elsewhere. But the rest, these are objects that you're able to delete in mass quantity out of Salesforce. So let's walk through this. We'll go to mass delete accounts. This process will look the same for all objects there. So here on the mass delete records for the account, I want to set the criteria up to have Salesforce go and look and query for the list of records that I want to potentially delete. So this is where I can set the criteria based off of field and different logic and value for those fields to search for that subset of accounts. So in this case, I'll make this very simple. I will say that the account name, we'll say that it contains an A, just to pull a couple here. So I'll hit search here, and it's now going to pull all accounts that contain an A. And so what's great here is that you can select individually or mass select the entire list and look to delete. Now what's important are these different options that you have here. For example, you can choose to delete accounts with closed won opportunities. Because if not, if an account has a closed won opportunity, the account will not be deleted as it shows here. As well as you can look at deleting accounts with opportunities owned by someone else, as well as you can permanently delete. And so we'll talk about the recycle bin a little bit, but understand the different options that you have here in the mass delete. And so great opportunity for you to go through different criteria and matching and understanding what query or subset of records you want to look at deleting, and then go through the process of actually deleting these records. Now, what is important to note is that you have a limit in this page of 250 records. Moving on from the mass delete is we want to talk about the mass transfer. The mass transfer is a very similar process as the mass delete. However, you see here that the mass transfer opens it up to much more objects are available to mass transfer. And by mass transfer, we're going to update the ownership. So in this case, we want to look at, let's look at transferring some leads. And this is very similar to the mass delete UI. This allows you to set up criteria based off of field, logic, and values, as well as here's where you would dictate who the information or who the records are transferring from and who they should transfer to. So for example, if I don't put in a user here, but I want them to transfer out to Samwise Gamgee, you see here that they're all owned by myself, but that I want to transfer them out to Samwise. And so what I can do here is I can transfer several of these. Let's say I'm going to transfer all but 3, and I want to transfer them into Samwise's name. And so I'm going to hit transfer here, and now all of these records, these 20 leads, were just transferred. So now remaining are only these 3 leads owned by me. And so now if I go to look in at Samwise's records, he is now going to have all of those 20. So just like that, very similar to the mass delete and being able to narrow down the focus of records that you want to transfer, you set the from user and the to user. Again, there is a limitation of up to 250 records. That is key, just like the mass delete option of limiting 250, same with the mass transfer, you can only do up to 250. And so sometimes if you're doing more than that, if you're doing thousands of records, tens of thousands of records, changing ownership, a common practice is exporting data via reports, updating the owner ID in a CSV, and then importing it back into Salesforce to mass transfer many records. But this is a native tool into Salesforce. It is very nice. It's very quick. Just has that limitation of 250 records.